Hey guys, here today with another Shirogorov knife notes video. Today we have in front of us the MiniQuantum sprint run. Now the MiniQuantum is Sergey's newest design, so it's very logical that we'd see a sprint run version of it. It's been available at auctions and at Lotto recently for the past couple shows, and there had been a lot of anticipation on whether or not there would be a sprint run. Well, of course, just like the Stellar and just like the Quantum before it, we have the sprint run right here, right now. So really looking forward to doing this video today, since there's a lot of really cool technology in the clip, if you guys already don't know, that we'll talk about in a bit. The sprint run does faithfully kind of recreate the functionality that is present on the custom. So that's really cool, and something that is a little departure on the custom division with just a normal clip. But, you know, we'll do the video on the custom division MiniQuantum another time. Today we'll talk about the sprint run. Now, the whole concept of the sprint run is basically to solicit feedback, get the knives in the hands of some users, kind of test the knife in a production level format. You know, Sergey's customs, he makes them one by one by himself. To kind of take that design and have it be in a production format does require some tweaks and changes. And also to when the knife is being used and feedback is gathered, any changes that potentially might be needed can then be communicated and then potentially make its way down to the production models as well. Now, we still haven't seen the production Stellar, hoping that comes soon, but I digress. Going back to the MiniQuantum here. The MiniQuantum, for you guys who don't know, is pretty much the exact same size as a Neon. And if I were to bring my Neon here, you can see that both the handle and the blade size, including the cutting length, is pretty much spot on. That's really great. It means it's a very familiar size. It also means that, you know, stacking this knife up against Stellar's F95 size knives, and then really 111s as well. You can see where it really falls in. It's on that bottom half here, same size as a Neon. So for a lot of you Shirogorov collectors, it'll be a very familiar size for you. The ergonomics, however, are quite different, and well, actually, no, compared to the production knives, it is quite similar. The whole name of the game now for Sergey is thinness, which we'll see when talking about the blade and the handle. But anyways, what does this mean? I haven't done a Neon in a while, so why not? Let's measure the cutting lengths here. As you can see, we're looking at about 3.5 inches of cutting length. Actually, I want to say over 3.5 inches of cutting length. And with the knife completely open, just a hair over 7 3/4 inches open. With it closed, you can see here that we're looking at, let's see, just about 4.5 inches open. Wow, okay. Taking a look at the weight here. We are looking at 3.21 ounces, so just a hair over 3.2. So quite a light size, quite light for a knife of this size. I believe the Neon Zero is actually a little bit heavier. Don't quote me on that. But again, there's a lot of things that are contributing to that. But, you know, this model does have some, you know, weighty accents here that I expect we'll see a weight reduction in the custom division, as it does not have this bronze backspacer and clip. It has a titanium. But anyways, moving on to the blade here, you can see we have a beautiful 3mm blade stock. So again, thin being the name of the game, all of Sergey's knives, the full customs recent, have been 3mm blade thickness. So we're finally seeing this. Also the custom divisions as of recent, the Hati Magnetic, the F95 Turtle, and now the MiniQuantum are all sharing that same super thin 3mm blade stock thickness. This really falls in line kind of with the way the productions are going as well, moving from a 4mm to a 3.5. There have been many 3.5mm custom division knives for a while, so now the custom divisions are going even thinner now at 3mm, so that's quite interesting. But anyways, going back to the blade, 3mm blade stock of M398 Shirogorov and just Sergey in general for his customs as well have been kind of on a roll using M398 for the limited knives. Very, very high wear resistant steel. Not as tough from what I can tell as S90, which had been kind of the previous de facto steel, mono steel for custom division knives. But still a really nice upgrade over the M390 that you see in the production knives. As you can see here, we have some skeletonization both in the flipper tab and the fuller. Shirogorov likes to call this the pierced fuller here. And something that's very nice that we did not see on the custom division quantums of previous, and also the production quantums as well. I actually don't believe the full-size quantums ever had this pierced fuller design. So it's really cool to see this lightening of the scales, and everybody loves skeletonization, and it's done quite well here. I really like that it's also continued on the flipper tab. The MiniQuantum full customs of course have the same skeletonization, at least on the mono steel models. The Damascus ones have a non-pierced fuller, just a normal fuller type, and also a non-skeletonized flipper tab. Although there is some milling on the flipper tab, it just is not skeletonized all the way through. Of course, we have satin flats, hallmark of the custom division lineup. And we also have very functional jimping here, which is a nice change of pace from the recent production knives. They're just not that great. Also, some of the custom divisions too will have this kind of wider jimping, such as the Hati magnetic, which I believe is actually even wider. Same thing with the F95T. Not very usable at all. On both the custom division and the sprint run here, it has very functional jimping. Really like it. The blade extract, or sorry, the pierce fuller here also has some interesting milling that's unique to both the sprint run and the custom division versions. On the full custom, it's actually wider back here. I believe it does follow the lines of the handle. As you can see, here is a kind of a more gradual slope on the pierce fuller skeletonization on the rear half of it. But here on the custom division sprint run, you can see we have some really nice milling that matches the lines of the milling on the handle. Something that's unique to this model. Now, Sergey has kind of done this in the past with the custom divisions. For example, see on my F7, we have a skeletonized fuller area too, but it's just pretty much flat here on the bottom. With the custom division, Sergey's been doing more kind of techno-futuristic designs. You can see here like this little hump here, something that was present on the Hati bronze, which had skeletonization as well. So Sergey always tries to do something to differentiate the custom divisions from the customs. And in general, the custom division theme tends to be more techno-futuristic than the full customs, which you would perhaps say are more restrained and more flowing in the designs. A little bit hard to capture. Hopefully I can get those two side by side, especially like a Hati bronze in my F7, to compare just those small details and kind of show you that. But there is a difference here with the flipper tab, which I thought was really cool when I had spotted it in person. Now, moving over to the handle, you can see here we have similar contour pattern to the full custom. That means that the handles are quite thin and they appear flat at first, and the front is non-contoured besides this raised area that serves as a kind of faux pivot collar. But the handles here on the mill portion are actually concavely milled. Now, this is opposed to most milling as you would see on, say, the Sprint Run Stellar or my full custom Neon here, where the milling is concave outwards. We have, sorry, convex outwards. We have concave milling here, which really serves two purposes, I think. It actually feels really nice to hold the knife. It kind of conforms with the pad of your finger, which obviously is not flat as well, and also helps accentuate, oops, sorry, that was a bad flip, helps accentuate the thinness of the knife, which I think is really cool. We actually see something very similar in the Hati magnetic. However, only the carbon fiber, the carbo tie show side is concave milled. The lock side is actually just flat milled. So it's interesting, and I really like that that detail is faithfully represented. And again, similar to the kind of milling here on the Pierce Fuller, we have a different milling pattern on the Sprint Run and the Custom Division compared to the full custom. This is a more kind of, again, a more futuristic kind of techno squiggle pattern as opposed to the full custom, which is a little bit straighter, hard to describe. Hopefully you guys can look at my other videos on Instagram or something for the full customs, and you can see that that pattern is different, but I'll go ahead and do a close-up shot of that here. Now going on the back, you can see we have the Shirogorov logo. Over the years, the logo has really migrated. We have the F95, traditionally had been on the front here, and starting with the neons, it's been on the back, and it's been slowly moving its way on the production full-size knives, such as the F95 Zero, and of course the Neon Zero, and now we're seeing it on the MiniQuantum as well. I really like it here. You know, how many makers are putting their logos on the pommel area? Not very much. I think it's kind of a cool thing that Shirogorov does that's a little bit unique. Now, taking a look here at the faux bolster area here, you can see we do have a milling pattern on the handle. It is a little bit coarser on the Sprint Run and Custom Division compared to the full custom. Another common theme between the full customs and the other knives, usually the full customs have finer milling patterns. If you actually take a look at the bare logo area, you can see that there actually is milling here as well, if I can get a good angle. It's just so fine. The full custom, the faux bolster area is kind of in between the milling thicknesses for these two areas here. Taking a look at the other side of the knife, you can see here that we do have an inset lock design. Talk about the lock first here. Similar tab lock design to what we see on the Stellar Sprint Run. Oops, sorry. So an inset steel lock bar. Now this is really great for people who, you know, really have trouble keeping their fingers off of the lock on a frame lock, which will kind of lead to a knife that's, you know, incredibly hard to flip because you're putting pressure on that detent ball. This inset liner really gives you the best of both worlds, allowing you to have a thin knife. You can see that when depressed, the inset liner fits pretty much flush with the frame here, or the scales, but you have something that's protected, so you can't really put any pressure on the lock, which would lead to a difficult flipping action. That's really the intent of this new design and why Sergey is kind of moving towards this, you know, first on the Stellar and now on here. I definitely would expect him to continue using this lock design in the future. It's quite simple actually, and you can see here there are some really nice quality of life features that I really like about it. Again, this is not unique to just the MiniQuantum, but some things I wanted to point out here. One thing that has changed, usually there is some jimping on the inside here to help with some grip. You can see the Stellar has some jimping on here. Oh, there we go, you can see in the light. The full custom does have jimping, but it's interesting to see that the Sprint Run does not. Another interesting thing, if you take a look, is the kind of, Shirogorov calls this the apron. It kind of hangs over the lock bar up in the front here. And as you can see, when you push the lock bar over, you have a very flush design with the rest of the frame. Now, this serves two purposes. Not only does it help, you know, kind of give this kind of uniformity to the design, it also prevents your finger from getting stuck in between the liner and the handle, which as a lefty pushing this way happens to me a lot on a lot of liner locks. And I really love that Sergey was able to kind of have this foresight to make sure that this doesn't happen. You know, I've had knives that were so bad where, you know, the handles were not even chamfered on this axis here, that I would have, you know, parts of my skin getting cut, or my finger, you know, my fingertips would be pinched when I would let go of the knife lock. So pretty interesting, and I'm really glad that that is not a feature, that feature is on this knife, because it pretty much prevents that. Now going back to the lock side, finally, you can see we have this milling pattern continued. We have the screws here. Coincidentally, these are of the normal size screws to the old knives, and not the newer size large screw that you would see on the recent production knives and custom divisions. But I think that's due to size constraints. Interestingly enough, though, I do believe the full customs do have a larger pivot, so it's interesting to see why they're using the older screw size, especially for a custom division in the year of 2023. All right, now finally, the kind of main piece here of the knife and the MiniQuantum design in general, in my opinion. We have this bronze clip and bronze backspacer. The clip here is the same rotating clip design that we see on the full custom. Now, what does that mean? First, you can see here the clip design has changed a little bit over the custom. The milling patterns are different. On the full custom, the lines here, instead of just being completely horizontal on this portion, they kind of conform with the arrows in a very interesting way. But you can see here there's this arrow marking that shows that the clip can be rotated, and there's this detent ball underneath that retains the clip when it's not in use being rotated. Now, what is the purpose of this? You know, a lot of people, when they first saw this on the MiniQuantum, when it first debuted at Blade Show last year, they really wondered what the purpose of this was. And what from Sergey, it seems the motivation behind this was to be able to put the clip on pants that are overly thick, you know, really thick denim, or on pants where you're really sensitive to kind of destroying the lip of the pocket, like, you know, some really expensive dress slacks. So how does it work? You can see here we have this 3D kind of angled padding here. And basically, you know, when you're sliding the knife in your pocket, you can push the knife down like this, put it in your pocket, and then this is spring loaded, so you can let go. And then the clip will ride over the pants and secure itself to your pocket. Now, the retention on this is insane. It's much better than the normal pocket clip. That does come out the downside of, you know, getting used to this new clipping method. But over time, you really get used to it. And after carrying this for about a solid 2 weeks now, I've noticed actually that I've been doing it on my other knives as well, kind of unintentionally without thinking about it. So it does become intuitive after you've gone used to it, but it does take some getting used to, and it really does perform as advertised. I think a little too well, actually. Sometimes you kind of want to pull the knife out and you just can't do it without having to kind of reverse the steps. Again, in your pants pocket, you can just open it up, pull it out, and then let go, and then the clip springs back. Very interesting design here, and I think it accomplishes what it was set out to do very well. But again, just take some use in it. It's something new, something very novel, and it's really cool that it's been incorporated here on the Sprint Run. Again, it's not seen on the custom division, so this is really a unique piece, and it's the only way you're going to be getting this rotating clip outside of getting a full custom MiniQuantum, which of course will be significantly more expensive. But how does the clip actually work? You can see here that the clip is held together by the screw. The screw is fixed and doesn't rotate. There is a steel washer underneath that bronze clip here on the right side. And then on the left side, there is a pin that is press fit into the clip. Now, this pin actuates this leaf spring that is part of the steel liner. So the steel liner acts as not only the lock up in front, but also houses the leaf spring for the rotating clip in the back. And you can actually see as I rotate the clip, the spring being actuated here. Now, of course, we also have this detent ball, a rather large detent ball that interfaces with this hole in the clip here. And you can see we have some beautiful milling on the underside of the clip as well. And that's what keeps the knife in place the clip in place when the clip is not being actuated. And you can see it has very good retention, not a lot of wobble, no kind of dinging noise, really nicely executed. And something that's a little different about this, and I actually talked with Sergey about why the retention on this was so good. He said that actually bronze and the steel washer is a very good combination of hardness. Of course, you want to think of bronze as traditionally a good clip material, but the fact that we have this rotating clip mechanism allows us to have a true bronze clip. Now, compare that on the full customs that I've seen so far. They've all been titanium with phosphor bronze washers. Now that, of course, the full custom ones, they're a lot smoother, and the titanium actually coming off of the detent feels a lot smoother as well. But he said that, you know, for maximum retention, bronze and the steel washer is actually the best. So a little side note there, but I thought it was very interesting and I wanted to share that with you. Anyways, going back to some of the last details of the knife here, we have a bronze backspacer, as I stated earlier, with that same kind of floating effect, that triangular backspacer shape housed inside the triangular valley of the handles, creating that faux floating effect here. Really nice to see that replicated on the MiniQuantum. And of course, as this knife being super thin, the backspacer ends up being incredibly thin as well. Something very similar to, say, on the Hati Magnetic Custom Division and the F95T Custom Division. And lastly, here you can see we have the sprint run text on the inside and the number of the knife, and the backspacer. As always, Shirogorov has been really on a kick of showing off their centering on their blades, so really nice to see that here as well. And also, another reason why I tend to not want to flick this knife. Some people have been able to do it. I can kind of do it. It's a little bit hard as a lefty. Man, I really want to show this on camera now. There we go. I haven't had any issues with the blade rubbing up against the backspace or anything, but just something to be aware of. You know, especially if you are flicking this knife really hard, putting a lot of, you know, lateral pressure. You don't want the blade to touch the backspacer. Sorry, the pivot screw is kind of a little loose here. You don't want the blade coming up in contact with the backspacer, but I haven't noticed any difficulties in that. And really the first question I get when they see a Shirogorov with a fuller is, can you flick it? Can you flick it? The answer is yes, but it takes a little bit of practice. Everything is scaled down. Lastly, of course, as you guys might already know, this knife is on single row roller bearings. I seem to omit the bearings in the recent knife videos I've been doing. So of course, classic Custom Division fare. We also have steel washer underlays and of course, extensive internal milling, obviously on the lock side to house the inset lock, but also on the inside as well. And it's not just milled flat, there's actually kind of a triangular, multiple triangles patterns on the inside, which is something a little bit different. Usually we just see kind of the bottoms of the internal milling being flat, but we do have a very unique pattern on the inside here as well. Well, that's it for the MiniQuantum sprint run. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, it ended up being a longer one with all that clip talk and just the talk of the new model in general. Hopefully looking forward to getting my hands on a Custom Division and doing a comparison video as well, since there are a lot of differences between the Custom Division and the sprint run that are different than just kind of a, you know, different blade steel and a color palette swap for the hardware like we had with the Stellar. So looking forward to doing kind of like a mini knife notes video on that. Hope you guys look forward to that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and hope you have a great day as well. See you guys next time.